Hey there guys, it's a miserable rainy day here in mid-November and meteorologically, excuse me, hard word to say, it is winter. However, seasonally, as you can see, it's very much still autumn. The leaves are still falling from the trees. I only raked up yesterday. You wouldn't believe it because of, look at the grass. All these kind of woodland areas though, I've kind of put leaves, all the leaves there for the wildlife and as mulch. Anyway, I thought I'd just give a mid-November update on all my palms. We'll start over here with this little trio of palm trees. First up is Trachycarpus Nova. Now this guy is maybe about 7 years oldish now, maybe slightly younger. I think I purchased him in about, let's say, 2018, and he has absolutely shot up. He's probably tripled in size in that time, and he has caught up with his two older Trachycarpus Fortunei counterparts. They are much faster growing than Fortunei, the standard Trachycarpus or the standard palm species available in the UK, and apparently they are more cold hardy than the Fortunei, so potentially the hardiest palm you can grow in the UK. Here you can see the trunk is developing beautifully. Zoom in there. Quite a nice shaggy trunk. However, the fibres aren't quite as wild and long and hairy as on the Fortunei, as you'll see soon. We've got nice, beautiful, wide fronds. They are slightly more serrated than a standard Trachycarpus, for example here. But as I was saying, the leaves, they're quite nicely spaced out, but they're a bit stiffer when you have a Trachycarpus Fortunei with leaves spaced out in that kind of way. If we move on here, this guy is like this because he's in full shade throughout the summer, so his leaves have adapted to that. But because of that, they're not as stiff, and you can see there's a lot of wind damage. So they have nice, large, serrated leaves which are stiff and wind resistant. They're more cold tolerant and faster growing than the Fortunei. If these things were more widely available, every palm collector would have one. Even if it's just someone who thinks, oh, I fancy a palm tree in my garden, or oh, that looks nice. If they knew, people would buy this one 10 times out of 10. But these guys here, they've been in cultivation a lot longer. Here's the two Trachycarpus Fortunei, as we've already touched on. This one gets kind of full to partial sun throughout the growing season, whereas this guy gets pretty much full shade. And you can see the difference in the leaves. The guy who gets more sun, leaves are a lot more stout, not quite as wide, less serrated, and because of that they're slightly stiffer. Whereas the one in the full shade, my English is terrible today. As you can see, his leaves are a lot more spaced out so they can catch as much light as possible, meaning they're more widely spread and more susceptible to the wind because, like I say, they're not as stiff as the Trachycarpus Nova. This is the first palm tree I ever purchased right here, this Trachycarpus Fortunei. I got this guy, I think, 2014. For next year I got this guy in 2015, so, and I'd say they was a few years old each when I purchased them, so let's do some quick math, shall we? I'd say this one's about 11 years old, which would make this one about 10 years old. Whereas this guy, I'd say, what, I bought him in 2018, maybe he was a couple of years old then. So I'd say he's maybe 6, 7 years old at a push, and you can see he's equaled out in size, and his trunk, to me, it looks a lot taller. Well, not a lot taller, but it does look taller. Although more slender, these guys grow a bit thicker. But I would definitely say the trunk on the Nova is slightly taller than these guys. Past the Wallamai pines, which are currently flowering, they're in cone, we have two Patio Palms here. We have the Brahea Armata, Mexican blue fan palm, who needs weeding, to be honest. He's not looking that great, but if you've seen my earlier videos this year, you would have noticed he only had this partial frond left. So he's produced a whole 1, 2 fronds. This one has fully opened out at the bottom. It's just waiting to push the rest of the petiole out. So it's created a whole new 2 fronds, which for a slow growing palm such as the Mexican Blue, if you've had experience with, he's done pretty well, especially to say it's the cooler months of the year. So from, let's say, late August, early September, he's gone from 1 partial to 2 and a bit with another spear on the way. So he's looking good. That blue colour is really healthy. I did a lot of work on him, feeding and looking after him, and he's coming back beautifully. Let's just hope the winter's kind to him. Here we have my second Canary Island date palm. We'll go on to the big boy next. But here he is. I got this guy this year, late August again, and he's done beautifully. I repotted him from a 5 litre into, I'd say this is maybe a 20 litre pot, maybe 25 litre pots. He's got a nice little trunk on him, double the size my original CIDP was when I first purchased that one. So I'm expecting big things from this guy in the next 10 years. He has actually produced a couple of fronds since I bought him in late August. This one was kind of partial, about where this guy is now when I purchased him. So he's produced this one which is still coming through, as well as this one here, and there's a spear in the middle. So we've got 3 partial fronds that are coming through in that time, and because of those he's actually really spread out his kind of lower canopy. He's got a nice spread look to him. As promised, here's my very first palm tree that I purchased in 2012. It's my first Canary Island date palm, and he's grown into a bit of a monster this last year. I'm not gonna lie, this guy's done terribly. To say he's been in the ground 10 years, he should have a fully formed base of a trunk, and you know, he should be probably double in trunk height that he is now. But we are in northern England, in Yorkshire, so they're going to grow a lot slower than in, say, London or, you know, the Southern Islands anyway. So there's that, and also he came straight from the Mediterranean, I'd guess. So it took him a few years of sulking with very long, elongated, thin fronds for him to get used to the UK climate and acclimatise. He's in pretty much full clay and peat soil. I was very inexperienced gardener when I planted him, so the soil I dug in there was all peat, no drainage, no nothing, and everything else is just common clay all around him. You can see the grass is still suffering from the the summer drought. Furthermore, he spear pulled 4 springs on the trots, so that was a really dark time in his life, but over the last couple of years he's really shot up. And if you just look at this beautiful big frond there, you can see he's really wanting to live, and he's clearly a very healthy palm tree now. It probably helps that we keep getting hotter and hotter summers. We've had record-breaking summer temperature after record-breaking summer temperature each year now, so that probably does help quite a lot. Another factor which probably doesn't help with this palm tree is that he was planted too close to the steps. You must imagine he had a smaller base than the other Pheonix palm I've shown you when I planted him. So, you know, that 1 foot gap between him and the wall there was probably about a 2 foot gap when he was planted. So he has thickened up quite a lot in his defence. And again, as an inexperienced gardener, I put an aloe striatula in next to him. Didn't think it would do much, and it's turned into basically a big shrub. So with all those things going against him, I'd say he's done pretty well, and this year was his best yet. We have a very healthy centre area, nice new fronds and spears coming through there. Look at that, healthy beauty. And yeah, he's just settling down for the winter now. I stopped feeding this guy in September, as well as all my palms, just so that they can wind down and stop growing all fast. Otherwise the first frost would damage them a bit, you know. You need to let the growth that they've put out harden off before the frosts come. So yeah, he's looking very nice, and hopefully next year he gets a bit more of a spread so it looks less lopsided here. But yeah, that is the number 1 palm tree, my very first, my Pheonix Canariensis. Okay, moving on to another palm tree grouping. please ignore the sticks down there. We had some gardening admin being done. Although the garden doesn't look too bad. We've had the lawn cuts. I raked all the leaves yesterday, although you wouldn't be able to tell now. But anyway, we're still working on sourcing some sleepers to change this bed, get rid of the bricks and make it look proper. Once that's done, we're going to weed it as well and mulch it over some nice dark black soil. It'll look very nice. But here we have my rescue Trachycarpus. Called so because he was half dead and reduced to about 3 pounds when I first purchased him. He was about the size of the first 3 trackies I've shown you. As you can see, he's done very well in the time I've had him. Nice, beautiful, thick trunk. Very happy crown. With some very big, beautiful fronds coming through. Pales in comparison now to my oldest Trachycarpus. I purchased this guy between... no, it was after, sorry, the 2 smaller Trachycarpus Fortunei that I got. And I've had this guy, I think, since about 2015, 2016. Say probably, yeah, around there anyway. But look at these beautiful mature tracky fronds here. How it's just flattened out like that. Just gorgeous. Bit of wind damage already. It's only November. You know, we've got December, January, February, March to go with terrible weather. But Trachycarpus are just tough as old boots. They really are. Gorgeous thick trunk. Very, very big now. And yeah, he's taken off. He's taller than me with his fronds. Next couple of years, maybe his trunk will be taller than an average man, so that's good. But look, we can actually get all the way into the crown and see the fronds forming in the bottom. How cool is that? And that's the great thing when your palms reach a certain age, you can do things like that with them. Here we have the Chamaerops Humilis, European fan palm. And as you can see, he's a very bushy guy. I really did want this guy to be a single stemmed palm, but very early on I realised it wasn't within his nature. Whenever I tried trimming off his kind of subshoots there, he would just sprout about 3 more, so he's destined to be a bush. After seeing huge stands of Chamaerops Humilis, probably the size of this bed, a few of them, you know, all creating these huge bushes, it makes like a palm tree shrubbery almost. I've seen them in Kew Gardens down in London, and it does look amazing. So I've had this guy for 10 years as well. He was my second palm tree, purchased at the same time as the first Canary Island date palm. And his trunk was about the size of this little mini one here, if you can see that. This little 2-inch kind of trunk. And now look at that. Very solid, probably foot tall trunk with some subshoots and loads of nice healthy leafy growth. We're reaching that time of year where the leaves start showing signs of water damage because it's been very wet. We've had a month's rainfall in the last couple of days. So on some of the older leaves you start to get that water spotting. It's just unavoidable in the UK, to be honest, especially up north. But the newest fronds are looking very green, very healthy. So yeah, I can't wait to see these guys in the winter. Video them all in the snow. See my palm trees surviving the chilly northern climates. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. That's my palm tree collection in South Yorkshire, United Kingdom.